Good evening and welcome to Laugh and Monkey Music. Today we have on Chris Belew. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm doing good. We are talking a little bit before break the fourth wall. A lot of poo talk, so just kind of gearing up.
How are Pooh? It's good to see
uh,
Pooh.
so you've already been working in that mind all day. So I'm behind you. I'm behind poo. I know.
Yeah, that's
See,
true. Well, all day I've been an hour and a half now working on a song called Diamonds in the Pooh. So I've got Pooh on the brain.
clearly you've done a lot of different bands. You have a great history. You have a couple solo albums out, which are great.
Thank you.
Casper Baby Pants. You have a ton of music that you produced there. And of
Mhm.
course, the President of the United States, that's where I know you from. But on your website, you have a lot of your music on there too, like for
Yeah.
just downloads, which is incredible because it's like, do you not want to make money? Like,
Mhm.
on a serious note, I mean, seriously, Dylan, you have a lot of good music on there. And it's not like it's just like throwaway stuff. You have like two
Oh
really
no.
great albums on there that are, and I'm loving polyphonic right now. That's like my jam right now. I like the melodies. I like it. It feels like it's there's some subtle stuff in there that I really,
Mhm.
really dig, and the wordplay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, as far as selling it, I did experiment with that a little bit, and it's, some of my new albums under my name
Mhm.
are available on Apple Music and other services where you have to pay. But I wanted to have a space besides Spotify, and a neutral, apolitical space where you can get the music
Yeah.
without worrying about backlash from your decision, I guess. Now it just feels like free is the fair price. I mean, I've made my nut with the Presidents and Casper. I don't need to charge for the music, so it feels fair. And I really also kind of enjoy money not ever entering into my creative process these days. Like I've all the work and all the sort of experience of the arc of my career has landed me in a place where I'm at the height of my creative powers and skill in the studio and all that stuff, but also I don't need to charge for it. So it's kind of feels good to release financial uh, thoughts from the creative process and just make stuff purely to try to make people feel good.
Oh,
And
it's kind of nice.
part of making people feel good is getting it for free. I mean, it's like, you know, having that part of the equation removed when possible is a beautiful thing.
I don't know, man. I listen to it. I'm like, how's he gonna make any money? Is he eating hand sandwich? It's just like, 1 meal a day. He's got family support. Gotta make some money.
I'm eating
Yeah.
sand sandwiches. I don't even have enough money for ham.
Damn. So
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I get, the president still, machine still churns money, and Casper Baby Pants is just just
awesome.
taken off. Yeah, I'm working on a TV show for that, and there's this player that's from the UK called the Yoto player, which is a beautiful little standalone audio player for kids. It's not
Right.
connected to the internet, and they have their little cards, and I'm doing great with that little player thing too. It's catching fire, so
Sounds like
I'm
those
good.
what was those what were those things the play like you had these little cards when you were kids, right? You had the record that would play. It was like a little TV. I had one of those, and the little
Yeah.
the slide projector, and you put them in. I had like the Count of Monte Cristo. It was like to go through on. It's like Dark as a Dungeon would play. And it's like watching a little TV thing. That's what it sounds like,
Yeah,
a modern version of that.
it's kind of a modern version. Here, hold on. I'll show you what it
Yeah.
looks like. It's this little, it's this little cool little player with stereo speakers, and you put the
I know.
cards on the top, and yeah, and it has to hook up to a cell phone, so the parents kind of control the cell phone part. But it's like a way to have a player and have a library of music that can deal with the internet. You can download stuff on your phone, and the parents can, and buy cards and stuff like that. But you don't have to, and you don't have to have a
Right.
screen. So
Well,
it's a
there's the
pretty
danger
cool
of
thing.
that. Of you have the kids on the internet too. Like, as we were saying, you have younger kids, older kids now. Me too. And I think it was weird growing up into it. And I
Yeah.
figured, oh, my kids are going to be so much better at the internet than me. Not so true. Like I could, Dad, can you fix my computer still to this day? Like, I'm IT, but I mean, the point is like, you think that the world of technology is going to make everybody like, building robots, and it didn't
Mhm.
happen. They're just surfing on their phones. It's just really,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
It's more
really
of a
escapes
person.
them.
It's more of a personal revolution, although, it's a social revolution too, in a lot of ways. I mean, but anyway, that's a can of worms. We probably
it
want
is,
to
it is.
leave on the shelf in the garage.
Right. It is actually. So one of the best things about you is your songs come across as simple, but as I was saying before, writing a really good simple song and a good melody and it's catchy can be really hard, especially to
Yeah, it
do it
is
as
hard.
much as you do. I mean,
Yeah, it's funny because lately with my solo stuff I'm doing now, I'm really challenging myself to be simple. Like this song I'm working on had one chord in it, and then I realized I need a couple more chords. But and like Polyphonic, the song you name checked from the second
mhm,
album, Soul Unfolded, that's the same chord progression just over and over and over. I'm kind
right.
of taking a cue from The Passenger by Iggy Pop. That's one
Yep.
song where it's like the same, but then how he sings over it and what he does lyrically and melodically is and energetically changes, gives it hills and valleys. So I'm really enjoying. There's a whole massive chunk of what I'm doing now is how simple can it be, and how can I? I also am kind of coming from. I made ambient music for many years, which is on
Yep.
my website for free, and
I
it was
actually
kind of like,
downloaded it. That's awesome to fall asleep to. That's just so
yeah,
relaxing.
it is. I use it to do my morning kind of deep breathing routine, and it's funny to listen to music that came from me to reflect on me. It's a little solipsistic, but I have the
It's super
opportunity. So,
meta.
yeah. But anyway, I was doing this ambient stuff, and
Yeah.
it's very kind of monotone, but has texture. And I was like, can I marry songwriting to that kind of thing? And so that this solo stuff I'm doing is kind of me experimenting with how kind of well, I say it's nap dance music. Like I want people to be able to either nap to it or dance to it. So, or
Wow,
both. You can
that's a
take a
hard
nap
fence to
dance.
straddle.
Yeah, it is. Like, because I know I'm on the right track when I'm listening to a mix and I find myself like nodding off. I'm like, okay, that's good. I don't want to be too grabby, too showy these days. I'm trying to lull people into kind of a trancy groove. So
Fall asleep. You're gonna start doing duets with Kenny G in the relaxing mode there.
I used to, when Nevermind came out, I used to put that on 11 and fall asleep to it. There's something about like big harmonically rich distortion that makes me just want to go to bed.
I can listen to anything and fall asleep, so it doesn't really matter to me. I just put something on
Yeah.
to focus on, and I'm out. But the other thing that's really interesting is your choice of instruments, and
Mhm.
they have only a couple strings on them.
Yeah, some of
And it's
them,
incredible.
yeah, these days, like this guy right here is the one I played on the President's debut album.
Yeah.
It's a Kawai from the 70s. It's just super, got it at a pawn shop for $75, and it rocked. This one is the original 2-string that Mark Sandman gave me in Boston, but I have it set up as a 6-string right now because a lot of the new music I'm doing is actually more traditional. This is the Casper Baby Pants guitar behind this lamp. I played 1,300 shows with that sucker. That's
Wow.
Casper, and then I've got a McCartney bass. I've got
Nice.
some other 60s stuff. This is the one I played with Beck when I was touring with Beck.
Is that the one foot in the grave? Is it no one foot?
I did, yes. I bought that. My audition was to play slide on that album, and I didn't have a slide or a slide guitar. And I went to a music store and bought that guitar and this slide, and went to Olympia and walked in the studio and went, and he's like, "You're hired."
That's probably one of my favorite Beck albums. Actually, I think it's very underrated as far as
Yeah, it's
Beck
great.
albums go,
It was really cool to be a fly on the wall when that was coming together. It was very like in the moment. Like he didn't want a slick slide guitar player. He just wanted a, I don't know, somebody who could take risks and be inventive and, non-traditional. And since I didn't really know how to play slide guitar, I was perfect.
Lo-fi.
And then I
It
ended
feels
up
like
playing bass. And I ended up playing bass and keyboards and stuff too on tour. But that was my intro was the slide guitar.
But you say that, but there is a certain thing about it. And a lot of musicians say, "Well, I didn't learn. I didn't have a formal training." But there is a certain talent, innate talent you have in you. And most musicians that hop into situations, because a lot of people like, I don't play slide guitar. If I jumped in and played with him, it would suck so bad. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference of you not knowing and having the natural ability of feeling it out and just not knowing it. So clearly you were discovering a lot of your talents as you were going, modestly, but I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, it's not just.
I think I generally have an ear toward what is this, what atmosphere is the song trying to inhabit? and what is the vocabulary of that atmosphere, like what feels like it fits in there and what doesn't, and how I make choices based on the big picture I'm painting with the song. And it's really intuitive. I never know, like I'm working on this song today and I'm like, I'm going to try a real chorusy electric piano on this. And then, because it feels like it might need to be velvety, and oh, that's too velvety. Let me get a old polyphonic.
Velvet Poo might be the new title.
Velvet Poo. I love it. Anything with poo in it. Monkeys poo. Monkeys throw poo.
Monkey Poo will be my spin-off show.
So yeah. Anyway, for me, it's a matter of like making small choices based on the big picture.
Now, you start playing. I know that basically you was a hand-me-down guitar from family and stuff, and you kind of learned what the chords were, not without knowing what the chords were. Once again, probably intuitive.
Right.
Did you actually eventually learn the chords and like take lessons or figure out so you know the difference? Because you play 6-string, but then you also play 2-string, in the conversion of that's not like a natural thing. So the transition is really interesting to me how you ended up with that.
Yeah, well, I started with that guitar that my dad and my sister had kind of been handing back and forth, and it became mine eventually. But I just went like, oh, these sound good together, and I didn't know, but that was an E, and there's G and C and D. And then later I got a book and figured out that I had found the actual chords. And 6-string did me great for a long time. I happened to have a 3/4 scale acoustic nylon string guitar at one point in the early 90s, and I broke 2 of the strings. So I had a 4-string, and out of necessity, I just couldn't afford strings. So I played a 4-string for a long time, and then I broke another one, and there was a 3-string, and I was like, yeah, okay, this feels good. And then Mark Sandman from Morphine, he handed me this red guitar behind me, and I was at his house. I don't remember how we met or whatever, but I was at his home studio, and it was set up as a 2-string. And when I picked it up and plugged it in, I was just like, yes, I've arrived. So it was kind of like this incremental shifting from 6-string down to 2, just by the nature of being poor and having a friend that played 2-string guitar. And so, he ended up, a year before he passed away, he mailed me this guitar with no warning, no heads up, here comes a package. And it just had a little note in it that said, you are in charge of this now. And so I'm in charge of it.
Awesome. I don't know how he passed. Was that like, did he know he was sick or something? Just sent it to you?
No, he did not know at all. He passed away on stage live in Italy, about 5 songs into a set, counted in a song, had a massive heart attack, and passed away right there.
Wow. A lot of people say they want to die on a stage, but that doesn't really happen to a lot of people.
It's I am not happy that Mark is gone, or I wish Mark was around all the time, most every day when I see this guitar. And he was kind of my musical father. He allowed me, we had a band together, and he allowed me to be this goofball while he was kind of this, like a tent pole
anchor.
Cool. Yeah. But his life, he cultivated a mystique about himself and a storied kind of aura about this Mark Sandman guy. And to have him die on stage like that, to pass away that way, is, I don't know, it just sort of is like another chapter in this story of life. Yeah, it's legendary. You're right. It adds to the legend. But boy, I wish he was around. I think, what would he do with computers? Woo!
It is a loss. Is it harder or easier, or is it a little of each, writing and playing it? Because it's like, and let me step back for a minute. When someone plays ukulele, like my kids play, I've got some here, but my kids have played, I haven't ventured really playing it. It feels like you can really set every song. If you're a mediocre player at that instrument, it's going to sound the same. Pretty much, it sounds twangy. But you get somebody, and I've had like Jake Schimberger on, that knows what they're doing. It doesn't sound like ukulele at all. Every song is totally different, because it's about the nuances and the finesse that you usually don't get unless you're really good. But I see you playing 2 and 3-string, and I've gone actually online and watch other people, and I'm thinking, it feels like it's kind of got to be the same thing. Like, it just can't be that easy. Like, you can make a couple of chords, but it's not,
there's dimensions to it. For me, playing 2-string and 3-string is a lot about rhythm. And I'm definitely a rhythm guitarist. I can hack away at it. I can do a lead here and there, but I generally end up kind of writing my leads to be melodic, like the Beatles did. A lead was, especially in the early days, a lead was a real melodic part that was a gift of melody that was not the, main melody. But anyway, I just find that the 3-string and the 2-string kind of really promote rhythm. I loved playing this guitar, the Casper Baby Pants guitar, because it's a 3-string. I can do sevenths and minors and diminished and augmented chords and all that stuff, jazzy chords. And I kept on discovering new ways to do chords. When I did those Beatles cover albums, actually, with that guitar, it was super fun to figure out, like, okay, there's a big complex chord here. What are the important 3 notes? And how do I translate it to the fretboard? So it was a challenge. So yeah, there's definitely dimensions of complexity that are different with fewer strings. It's, you can just put one finger across and do essentially what a bar chord does and be playing immediately. But then there's a lot of subtlety awaiting you if you want to dive in.
But if you listen to, even say, more people understand this would be the presence when you're doing anything, even like with Peaches or Belew, there's a certain jam you have and the way you pronounce words, and you really have there's like so many different dimensions that you think you only had a couple strings. 3 guys. It feels like there's a lot
5 strings, 3 guys. Yeah.
It feels like there's so much going on. It's a very, not that in particular, I know it's a big hit, it's easy, but for purpose of the conversation, it's very smart. There's a lot of really good like pieces in that you break down the way you say things, and your tone changes. And the way the instrumentation changes, it's, and I think the production's really good too on that album, or actually any of them.
Yeah. It's very weird, the production. If you listen to it in the context of everything else that was out at the time, it's such a bizarre, but that matches the lyrical content and the fact that we're playing these weird instruments. The recording is weird. The whole thing's this like planet. It's a, complete thought planet that you can land your rocket ship on if you want to. It was it's fun. Dave Dederer, the 3-string Git bass player in the Presidents, I did 2-string, he did 3-string. He's a great musician, and a major reason he was somebody that I kept collaborating with over the years is he just has a deep pocket of skills on guitar, and he's a 6-string player. I mean, he can really work a 6-string. And I figured, well, let's take all that expertise and put it on and hog tie him with a 3-string and see what weird choices come out of that, And he loved it. He dug right in. So at some point in 1996, though, he started playing live with the Presidents with a 6-string. He started sneaking a 6-string back in because I think he got a little like, there's all these voicings I can't, do, and I want to stretch. So, but at the time we were just making choices that made us laugh and were funny. And so, I think there's intent and artistry involved, but there's also just like, what's funny?
Well, it's fun. It's fun in a way, like it's fun in the way, like the example would be like the music is serious, but not serious, but serious and fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's also, you can't take yourself too seriously either, but the music stands up for itself. It's smart music, You're like, I was telling you, you're not gonna be totally wrong.
It's true. We used to talk about it in terms of caring deeply while appearing to not care at all. It's like behind the scenes in the rehearsal space, we worked hard, and we knew that if we were going to be silly, we also had to be tight and good. Because if you're silly and not that good, live especially, then there's nothing for people to hold on to. And there was enough like levity mixed with darkness. I mean, in the years previous to the Presidents, I was writing a lot of dark, grungy, sad, heavy songs. And so there's still like this heavy sprinkle on the hilarity. So we mix the light and the dark, the like caring and not caring, all that stuff kind of.
I know it's a perfect storm because I'm a big fan of rock, but one of the things when grunge came in, and I liked a lot of the grunge bands too, but it got really sad, and like I don't always want to be sad all the time. So when you guys came in, you kind of had a balance where you could still have fun. It's like, we're gonna rock your pants off if it's okay with you. Like you guys are like politely gonna do it if it's okay. But you know what I'm saying? It was out there, and you could just have fun and still have good music.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah. There was a dynamic too that I was kind of was not really aware of back then, but in retrospect to become aware of, especially when we reformed and got back together, which is that we were like in the beginning, we were this tiny little band that was trying to rock, and the fact that we had 2 and 3 string guitars and we were little guys and little drum set, no cymbals, little splash, tiny hi-hat. Like, look at, I think the audience inside anyway, somewhere was like, look at those little dorks trying to rock out. Look, isn't that cute? I want to put them in my pocket, those little dorks. And then we became big and famous or whatever, fame-ish, as I like to say. It's like the experience of being famous, but without all the other bad stuff. And we had to stand up in front of 50,000 people on a racetrack in Germany and crank up the machine and deliver the hits and all that stuff. And you couldn't like interact because they're 100 feet away across a barrier.
Weird.
So we became a rock band. And then for me, and I didn't realize it at the time, but at the time I was, back then I was like, we've lost a dimension here of irony or something. And I could smell it, but I couldn't name it. So I figured it out later, but yeah. Another thing about that band that is important is the chemistry between Innocence and Innuendo. We had this like, innocent little guys singing songs, but then Peaches is a pretty sexually charged song, and Kitty, and what is Lump anyway? And there's this like kind of, skewed poetry going on that people couldn't quite decode and figure out. So that helped too. It was kind of this like innocent planet with a outer shell of sexual innuendo that was kind of making the friction. And then when I started playing the Casper stuff, I realized, I'm going to take the innuendo part off the planet and just be the innocent core. And
Good call on that one.
Yeah. And it was really, that's when I realized, that's what was making me feel weird and uncomfortable. I didn't have a handle as a songwriter on that chemistry back then. And I didn't know what that chemistry was back then. So yeah, removing the adult part of it and just keeping the innocent part made me realize, that's what made the Presidents go. Okay. Or another aspect of what made it go. So yeah, that was enlightening.
When did you guys stop playing then? Then you started doing Casper right afterwards, right?
Well, we did. We were together from, let's say, late 93 to early 98. And then we were apart for 5 years. And then the New Year's Eve, 2002, we got together. So the end of 2002 until summer of 2015. So, and then in the middle there, those 5 years, we did a band with Sir Mix-a-Lot. We made a record that we just did in the studio with 6-string guitars and 4-string basses. So we did stuff and we toured a little bit with Mix-a-Lot and stuff like that.
Are you guys done?
Oh yeah, we're definitely done. We quietly, we made a big deal out of breaking up in 98. And so we just quietly turned off the lights in 2015. Yeah.
Never know. And I always say it's like, we're talking with the Beatles more, not even about anybody else. If you guys have a chemistry, the 3 of you guys can quietly go off to the garage and jam once in a while, have fun. Like there's still that connection without needing everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've kind of landed in a place now where I'm really into what I was into in the early 80s: synthesizers, guitars, drum loops, drum machines. And I'm doing this new music and I'm kind of like, I've come way full circle. I'm actually finishing some songs that I wrote in like 1981, 82 that I recorded back then horribly with two boom boxes back and forth and a fake English accent that I thought made me sound super new wave. But I'm finishing. So the palette of a rock band doesn't really do it for me right now. I'm definitely a follow my intuition person, which means I'm always going to be doing something fresh and new and challenging myself, but it also means I'm not going to be consistent. And I've come to realize during the pandemic, not playing live, there's a bunch of stuff I do not miss about playing live. I don't quite miss the repetition, like I wrote a song and now I have to play it 1,000 times. I like writing a song and then being like, it's like a painting or a sculpture, like, oh, that's done. I'm not going to do that 500 more times. So anyway,
it's interesting. I know it's all my way like that. Some don't though. It's really weird to be like, I don't know. I've never had my own stuff out there enough to do it, but playing in cover bands, you're like, all right, it's fun. I should do something different. Like, or we're doing some songs after a while, I get bored. So for
Yeah.
me, I think I would get bored. But
Yeah.
then I've never had a big hit. So
The thing is, it's like playing a round of golf. Like every 10 holes, you hit a perfect shot. And so the thing that keeps you going back to playing live is those moments where like all this infrastructure comes together and there's people and you're just like, you just like dissolve
yeah,
and become this one big thing. And those moments are enticing enough to make you slog through the 97% of boredom and travel and eating terrible and not sleeping right and being out of tune and repeating your songs and missing your family and sleeping in weird hotel rooms and on and on and on. So anyway, I'm giving that a total break. I'm considering myself retired from performing for now and enjoying the studio a lot.
So you won't even play at all with your solo stuff?
No, it just sounds really daunting. It just sounds like, yeah. It just sounds like a thing that would sit on my to-do list for months. Like figure out how to play live. Yeah, I just don't want to. And I may want to. Never say never. I'm following my nose, my creative nose.
Nothing wrong with that. I think an artist should do what they want, where they get back together, they don't get together, they have secret jams for fun, they don't release anything. It's everyone does what they need to as an artist. I support that. Just kind of curious where you're going, because you have so much different stuff you kind of do.
Yeah.
I mean, when you toured a lot with Casper Baby Pants, how was that? I mean, because you didn't have to tour the rock life, so you could a little more family oriented on your touring. So it was
but those little kids, man, they're like drunk punk rockers. I mean, they say the weirdest things, they do the weirdest things. The shows are unpredictable, in some ways dangerous, because they're crawling all over me. I ended up playing a lot of theaters and stuff because I was like, I can't deal with kids tipping over my music stand and unplugging my amp. Like, it's more punk rock when it's firing on all cylinders. It's more punk rock than a punk rock show. It's kind of amazing. And that was really fun because I was back to my DIY roots. So I wasn't relying on a record label and tour support and, all the stuff that you get with a major label, or being in a rock band with adults. So I was booking my own shows, advancing them, driving to them, being the loader, the sound guy, the performer, the merch guy, doing the accounting, the record label, all that stuff. So it felt really good to flex those DIY roots again and do it myself. So
a lot of shows too.
I did 1,247 shows.
Wow.
In 10 years or 8 years, I guess. I didn't really perform that consistently for the first couple of years, but yeah, 1,247 shows, 352 songs, 19 albums in 10 years. Those are my stats.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I was doing a couple albums a year, and with this new stuff I'm doing under my name, I'm doing 2 a year. I'm doing a July and a January release for the foreseeable future. So I've got 2 out and another one in the can and working on the 4th one now. So yeah, I'm trying to catch those darn Beatles.
You'll get them.
I
have faith in you. You'll get them. I guess really the last thing I'm going to ask you about is songwriting. Because you have different instruments and you play different instruments, you're very good with melodies and you're fun with lyrics and tongue in cheek. And this is more of your adult band. When you're doing songs, is it like, you have a guitar in one of the rooms in your house, you're just noodling, you get a melody, are you just are you the kind of guy who goes in, I'm going to woodshed and see what comes up every day, eventually do it enough, you got a song?
It's kind of all of the above. It's always different. There's many ways. I record fragments onto my phone and then I'll walk around outside in the woods with my earbuds in and listen to them and wait for something to go, oh, ping, that's interesting. Yeah. That's how Lump came about. Lump was on a little micro cassette player. I don't remember making the initial thing up, but I heard it and I went, what's that? So there's that way of kind of cueing myself and filtering out the dead wood by just waiting for the response that someone else might have if they hear it. There's also, I'll just sit at the piano and play. Like sometimes I just sit down, turn on the piano and pick a weird chord and play it. And several songs have come out of that. Like, ooh, what's that? And where does that go? it's all different, man. Some are concepts like this one I'm working on, Diamonds in the Poo. I talk about that as a concept as far as, like, why do some bands make it and some bands don't? And why are, some ideas better than others? Or, why does the cream rise to the top? What's, is it a diamond in a poo? It's like, or like when you hunt for something, or you're looking for a solution, it's like finding a diamond in a poo. So I'm kind of working on the song, and that just started out as an idea, that I've talked about before. Anyway, so they're all over the map.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll, at the end of the day, I'll pour myself a little vodka drink and I'll sit in the sunshine on the couch with that same acoustic that I learned on, and just vibe on the sunset with a little booze in my body. And just that generates quite a few ideas. So yeah, they're all over the map. But a lot of the ideas for my solo stuff, the cornerstone of them all is this vocabulary about self-awareness, about consciousness, about the universe, quantum physics, spirituality, enlightenment. I've been for about 10 years kind of doing daily practice, meditation, that kind of stuff. And lately, in the last few years, listening to a lot of Ram Dass lectures. He's my favorite. I think he's my guru. He's amazing. He's got this very human, he's almost like an existential stand-up comedian. He's so good. He's very human, he's very spiritual, and he allows both. And
I'll have to check him out. I haven't.
Yeah, Ram Dass, highly recommend. I kind of feel like I'm growing into be the George Harrison of the group. Very much of my own group. Yeah. Some days I'm the McCartney, some days I'm the Lennon. I'm very rarely the Ringo. Yeah. But sometimes
the Yoko. Break your own band up. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, though. I'll tell you what I have right here. I am the Yoko because I am a massive Yoko fan of her art, her drawings and her writings. Top notch, really great stuff. Like it all takes place in your mind. I have both of her books, Grapefruit and Acorn, and I keep them right here in the studio for inspiration. So Yoko's around. Big Yoko fan.
Good.
It's not so much the vocalizations, but the drawings and the writings.
Yeah, that's the hard part. I always appreciate any artist that wants to do something very creative, even if it's not what everybody wants to hear, or even if I like it, I can still respect that. Just can't listen to it. Just can't listen to it.
Yeah, that's a trick. As I make this solo stuff, a lot of it came out of not having had a distortion pedal plugged in for 10 years while I did Casper. And I plugged in a distortion pedal and went, oh my God, I forgot about this. This is incredible. And then I wanted to put distortion on everything. And ultimately it made the music a little difficult, and I had to then back off and realize, okay, I'm in service to other people. I'm not just in service to myself. I really want this stuff. Well, yeah, but that's me. I'm, as a songwriter, I want to be generous. I want to give people melodies and phrases and fragments that they can walk down the street without the song and sing in their heads or whistle or sing out loud. So I don't want to coat that in too much self-indulgence, so I have to kind of temper I like to temper my self-indulgence with the idea of being in service to the listener.
Which is, I guess, being in service to yourself, because that's how you feel you want the song to be. So it really goes back to being in service to yourself, your own rules, which is good. I think. I think that's what with your lyrics. I like that they are very introspective on your solo stuff. I say solo. Yeah, and your newer stuff now. That's it's very. Yeah, you're thinking about stuff when you listen to it.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying writing songs now with abstract lyrics. A lot of my lyrics are very narrative before and very kind of cohesive and paint a picture, especially the Casper stuff. I was always about the story and the thread and the image.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm really just like playing with words, and I've got this list on my wall of words that I like that inspire me, like binaural, clouds, molecular, spectrum, wing, mono, stereo, melodic, intergalactic, gigantic, asteroid, orbit, radio, multicellular. They're like sort of keywords that I just like, because a lot of times when I make a piece of music, I don't have words yet. And I just riff and I just sit here on the mic and look at that list and go like moonwalk, zero gravity, particle symphony. Particle symphony, that's a good one. So, anyway.
And I always appreciate when you have a really good lyric and a word that's really kind of hard to say. Like I was just saying the other day, with what's going on in the war with Sting's Russian song is out, but when he talks about using the word of Oppenheimer as a lyric in a song melodically,
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, well, that's really good. Like as a songwriting thing, using the word Oppenheimer as a lyric, it's nothing you would think would just roll off your tongue in a pop song.
Yeah,
I like that.
I haven't heard that song, but maybe I'll check it out after this. I want to hear the word.
Sting's Russians, and he sings Oppenheimer's toys or Oppenheimer's little toys or something toys. But the way he sings it, you're like, did he just sing about Oppenheimer? Like that is just nothing you hear in a Sting pop song.
Yeah. That's funny because I'm also struggling with the word poo, like we talked about before we went live. Poo is a hard word to sing because
I can't wait to see you got it in a can.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I'm working on it. So I'm going to crack the code. People will look at this in the future and go, "Oh, that's the first time he talked about the song Diamonds in the Poo, the massive hit, Diamonds in the Poo."
It could be though. I think we've seen everything nowadays. It could be the hit.
Could be. Well, that's one thing that I loved about the Casper thing is I didn't feel like I was in the hit world anymore. Like there were no such thing as hits in kids' music.
There's no such thing as hits anyhow.
What's that?
There's no such thing as hits anyhow nowadays.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Not like we used to do. Like, there's songs and you could work it and everything else. Now it's like, it's like algorithms and people that have an Instagram account but can't fill a club. It's just weird numbers that, it's not the same.
Yeah. It's not the same as when I listened to Casey Kasem on this radio when I was a kid.
Right.
Man,
wow.
And
the claims are.
Unfortunately, AM radio is a lot of wacky talk radio and sports. I cannot find a top 40 song station on AM radio anymore. So but I miss. I know what you mean. The bottleneck used to be so narrow, and the ways we communicated were so limited and controlled that we could all experience Star Wars at the same time, or all experience Saturday Night Fever at the same time. And
different, and,
it's different.
But even the 80s with all different pop stars were all very different. And that was kind of refreshing. And that was like one of the things I think that helped you as a band, because you guys were very different with pop sensibilities, but you still had the rock and you still fit in the genre of when that was exploding. It was on everybody's minds. You had enough to be one leg in there, but you had a lot of that fun stuff that I felt, to me, recognized from like the 80s, which was like it was still a good melody. You didn't take yourself too serious. It was kind of every song was different. You're like, why do you think of that? Like, I wouldn't have thought of that. Like, cool. I can think of a lot of things,
that's coming. A lot of that's coming from the Beatles because of Sgt. Pepper's, because Sgt. Pepper is such a kaleidoscope of styles. And I love that record. I listened to it when it came out in 1967, when I was 2.5. I just glommed onto that record. So that's a lot of why the Presidents and to some degree, all my music is about genre hopping, because they were.
It's good. So I'm going to wrap this up. So with your solo stuff, are you still going to do Captain Baby Piano stuff too, right?
No, I'm done. Casper's retired. Yep.
Retired. 19 albums. You're not going to do an even 20?
19 is the number, man. Wow. No, 19, the average age. No, 19. Cool. That's a cultural reference.
I get that. I respect the 19. I was just harassing you about it.
Yeah, no, 19 is where I ran out of gas. I actually made 3 records before the pandemic at the same time because I was so on fire with writing and recording. And I was like, I'm going to finish them. And then the pandemic hit. So I parsed them out over the pandemic. And then during that time, I transitioned into my new style. And I literally, I have thousands of scraps of songs, and I scraped through that entire 5,000 fragment library to find anything that might be a Casper song. So I've squozen the Casper rag dry. And I think, oh my gosh, 19 records. Good. I mean, if you need more than that, you have a serious, I'm saying to people, if you need more than 19 records from one artist, you need to look at yourself and figure out what's wrong with you.
Children's albums, really, It's a certain point where, no, I'm glad I enjoy your soul stuff, and hopefully that'll keep up for a while. You're well.
Oh, it will. Yeah, I've got almost 80 songs here that are unreleased that are toddling towards completion. So some of them got to be good.
Are any of them be like heavier rock, or are you open-minded to doing everything now?
Some of them are heavy. Yeah, I'm kind of into like pretty stuff. I'm into. I was playing this song over, and I'll play this song like 4 times a day, and I've really been enjoying the classic 70s chord.
The long and
like-
winding poo.
The long and winding poo. Every time you play those chords, it's like, I don't know. Sally in the City was recorded in front of a live studio
Got it,
audience.
got it.
Sally in the City. I love that show. Sally in the City was recorded in front of a live studio audience.
You need your own radio show. You need to be your own AM show. Is what you need to do.
I do. I need to be the new Casey Kasem.
That'd be hilarious. You could do that.
Be great.
This is awesome. I'm gonna, as I always do with everybody, who watches the show, I put all your links underneath the podcast and on the YouTube so they can check it out. And if you think of other shows and other things you want me to, our artists, our guests to check out, they're viewing you, send them over to me. We'll put them on there. I know your wife's actually a very talented artist too. So
yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I was looking at some of her stuff too.
Yeah, there'd be no Casper Baby Pants without her. She really inspired me to embrace my innocent, silly side completely. So yeah, big props to Kate Endel.
Maybe throw some of her links over there too. I was looking at it. It's very talented. I appreciate it. So it's very good.